Seth Rogen has just revealed the real reason that Tom Cruise was acting so wild during his iconic appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Tom seemed to blame Big Pharma for pushing him to do that, and then he tried to push Scientology on Seth Rogen. I'm gonna get into all the details in just a moment, but first, if you could do us a big favor, please tap that like button, we'd really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Seth Rogen's first book, called Yearbook, is definitely going to be a big tea-spiller for Hollywood. The book is filled with interesting encounters that he has had during his time in the land of celebrities. Although one of the biggest and strangest interactions was when he met Tom Cruise in 2006 with Judd Apatow. During the making of Knocked Up, Tom had invited the pair over to his home for a meeting. Cruise had an interest in getting into more comedic acting, so we thought who better to learn from than Judd, an established comedic director, and Seth, a stand-up comedian and a successful actor as well. According to Rogen, they met with Tom for about 5 hours and spoke about the industry and the movies that Cruise enjoyed. In the book, he says it was all totally normal until it wasn't. You see, about 4 hours or so into the meeting, the conversation began to shift towards how Tom was being negatively perceived by the general public. In 2006, Tom's fame was at an all-time high, and on top of that, his relationship with Katie Holmes led to one of the most famous interview moments in television history. And Seth Rogen also mentioned that he had met Katie Holmes as well when visiting the home and said, "She had a vague 'please rescue me from this place' look on her face." As for the way that Tom felt about the negative attention, Seth writes, "Well, yeah, they're making it seem like I'm losing my mind. There's a coordinated effort to make it appear that way." And when Rogen asked him who would do such a thing, Tom blamed the pharmaceutical industry, explaining that his exposure of their fraud has cost them so much money that they're this desperate. They're scrambling and they're doing everything they can to discredit him so that he won't hurt their sales anymore. Now, to really understand why Tom would have been paranoid about Big Pharma back then, we have to go back to 2005 when he appeared on Access Hollywood. On the show, Cruise called Brooke Shields irresponsible for taking antidepressants to battle her postpartum depression, a statement that he would later apologize to her for in 2016. Regardless, he said what he said, and then would later get into a very heated argument with Matt Lauer when Matt questioned him on this. Matt said that he knew people on antidepressants and said that it had actually helped them, but in response, Cruise fired back saying that Adderall and Ritalin were street drugs. And going back to Seth Rogen's book though for a moment, he also flat out said to Tom, "Big Pharma made you jump on Oprah's couch?" To which Tom replied, "They edited it to make it look so much worse than it was. They do that all the time. You should see what they do to my friend Louis Farrakhan." Rogen would later write, "Of all the strange sentences I've heard in my life, this one coming out of Tom Cruise's mouth is in the top 3. At that moment though, Judd Apatow could not bite his tongue any further and said to Cruise that Farrakhan has said a lot of blatantly anti-Semitic things. But Tom insisted that he was a great guy and the only reason they think that is because of the media, despite Apatow giving an example of him comparing Jews to cockroaches. For which Tom replied, "No, see, that's the media. They're distorting all of it. Take my religion, for example, Scientology. They make it seem so effing different than it is. If you just gave me like an hour to tell you about it, you'd be like, no effing way, that's what Scientology is? No effing way. In just 1 hour, I could completely change your minds." Although at that point, they had both already been there for about 5 hours, so they respectfully declined to learn more about the Church of Scientology and promptly left the property. So far, no representatives for Tom Cruise have responded to these claims, but make sure to leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on all of this. And while you do that, I'm going to check out some of your comments from the video titled, "Trans Influencer Sentenced to 5 years in Jail for This." 8-Bit Daydream says, "This is absolutely gutting. I'm so sorry that these girls can't be in their truth and be safe. This is heartbreaking." It is absolutely heartbreaking that they just can't be themselves in a country where they live. You know, you'd think with some places progressing that others would catch up, but unfortunately that's just not the reality that we live in. Stuart B literally says, "People do not deserve to be shamed for expressing and embracing who they are. This is wrong. I'm sorry. I hope Shakiro and Patricia's situation gets better." Yes, hopefully that situation does get better. I know that there was a petition going around to help them, so I will try to link something to the actual video itself so that people can sign it. I Am says, "Thank you for covering this." And hey, we love covering stuff like there to spread awareness is really what we want to use this channel for whenever stories like that come up. You know, we gotta tell you guys about this so that you can also spread the story around too. Jack says, "I saw the title and expected some typical influencer bullshit. The real reason broke my heart." Yeah, sorry for the clickbait. But hey, I got a lot of people to click on the video, and now you know more about the situation. Ninja Haven 13 says, "Arrested because they are simply being themselves. Those ladies deserve justice." Oh, I'm sure that they will get some justice. I do not think that people are just gonna let this one fly. Either way, guys, that has been today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Johnny Rogers, and until next time, stay classy, YouTube.